Ay, ay,
Okay,
ay.
here we go.
Here
Are
we
you
go.
ready?
I'm reborn ready. Let's
Sim.
go. Let's
So,
go.
I'm very excited to be asking you a couple of questions. And before we get into the nitty gritty details of who you are, what you do, I'm going to play a quick game with you. Are
Okay.
you ready?
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't come prepared for your game, but let's go.
Okay. We're going to start off and I'm going to ask you quick questions, like 21 questions, and you must just give me your responses. Okay.
Okay.
So, I know you're not often on your phone. I know you don't text regularly, but if you could choose your favorite emoji, what would it be?
Smiley face. Wait, I changed that. The bicep emoji.
The bicep emoji. Okay, cool. What is your favorite food?
Thai.
Thai. Why?
Love it. I just love the flavors.
Okay.
Because I mean, I'm Indian, Asia, continent. So
Okay.
there's a similarity, or maybe not. But yeah, I just love the spice.
The spice. On that note, what's your favorite country?
Ooh. Well, now has to be the UK.
Okay. What's been your favorite adventure you've ever been on? So whether it's skiing or hiking or swimming, have you ever swam with sharks? What's like the craziest thing you've ever done adventure-wise, beside work, outside of work? Because I'm really trying to give the audience a little bit taste of who is Asim beside work.
So I've never been like a adventure junkie. I think I mean the max I've done is like drive fast cars.
Okay.
But quite recently I started skiing, and that for me is just wow. Like I can't wait to go back. It's just sad that you can only do it only a few times a year, especially if you live in the UK. But yeah, I just love it. I just love the feeling of being on top of a mountain, and it's just skiing.
I would love to see you ski. I would
Oh
love
my
to
God.
see how
Oh
you
well,
ski and fall.
yeah, exactly. I don't think you want to see me skiing.
Yeah.
It's just how can I say? It's just how I picture myself skiing one day. I think that makes me keep on going. Last time I was there, I actually kind of sprained or maybe broken something in my shoulder. But yeah, skiing. Hopefully one day I'll get there where you can say I would love to see you skiing, and I would say yes, come please watch me.
Okay.
But for now, no.
I've actually heard stories of you skiing and how you would ski and work at the same time, how you'd be on your phone texting and working and phoning people while skiing. Work-life balance. That's what it's about.
I'm gonna use that as an excuse of me falling.
Okay.
It's because I was working.
Okay. If there's one thing on top of your bucket list that you would like to do or see, what would it be?
Ooh, wow. I used to have a long bucket list at one point.
Yeah.
I think I'm at a stage of my life at this point in time where I feel really content with everything that I have done so far, seen. I don't know. I'd like to say travel to, but I mean, fortunately, I've also extensively traveled. I don't know. That's a big one. Okay. It has to now come back to business. I would love to, for me and founding members of Plum and really, the group of Plum, hopefully one day stand in NASDAQ or the London Stock Exchange and ring the bell,
Ring the bell.
get listed. I think that would be the top of my bucket list. Yes. Yeah.
So we're going to get into Plum, what you do, who you are in a bit, but let's take it back. You were talking a little bit about countries. You're Indian, Asian, Dubai. Give me a little bit of background. Who is Asim? Give me an idea, picture of who you were when you were 17, 18, or maybe even back when you were 10. Tell me about your family. Tell me about who you were as a kid. What was your favorite thing you used to do? What was your favorite clothing item? And then we're going to move it forward to who you are now and who you are going to become in the future.
Okay. So I was born in India, but then my mom brought me to Dubai when I was 2 months old. So she had me in India because her mom was living in India, so my grandmother. And so she wanted to, have the pregnancy, the delivery, and basically she needed support from her mother, basically emotional support, the whole everything else. So she delivered me in India, and then she shipped me to Dubai when I was 2 months old. Grew up as a skinny kid. I had my own struggles with body image, body shame. I think that was a big one for me. I remember always wearing black, baggy clothes. Humble beginnings. We didn't have much. And I think that was really evident and really known, even us growing up. We knew we had financial struggles because we could hear my mom and dad fighting, screaming, shouting, whatever that may be. Yeah, it was quite tough, and I think it was a little bit harder for me because I also didn't do well at school, and my sisters didn't make it any easier because they did really well at school. I was the eldest, and that became a little bit more challenging because what sort of a role model am I being for my sisters? So yeah, it was tough. It was tough, and I just felt like I was kind of stuck in. I didn't like the way I looked. I didn't like the way my mind operated because I was just a bad student growing up, and I always felt less than people around me, and I thought I would never, end up doing something proper in life.
Big and great. And look at you now. I think that's always really great to be able to look back, right? Humble beginnings, thinking about, like, I have proven myself wrong. And I think that self-esteem, that confidence, it comes with time and experience, but really that mindset, I want to have a good relationship with myself. So how would you describe your relationship with yourself?
I think growing up, well, I think age is interesting,
Yes.
right? So as you grow older, I'd like to think I've become a little bit wiser and a little bit more confident in my skin. But yeah, I think I'm in a very, I'm in a headspace at this point in time where I'm absolutely comfortable in the person that I've become. I am also very grateful, and I think gratitude helps me a lot in terms of just keep on going and moving forward. Yeah, I believe I'm living my best life at this point in time. Like I truly, truly believe that.
I love that, because I think when you say that, I think oftentimes people look around, they compare themselves. When you think about the hustle and the hurry, especially living in London, being an entrepreneur, being a CEO, there's so many voices, there's so many people's opinions, people have something to say about you all the time. And so you have to have that ability to switch off those voices, to know, okay, who's the top 5 people, even the top 3 people in your life that you aspire to, that know that because of these people, they're taking me further and I'm taking them further. And so people play an important part in your life, and you're a very relationship driven person. You value relationship above all. And I think you've really had to find the balance between being task orientated and being people orientated to be as successful as you are today and everything that's to come. So tell me a little bit about the balance between being people orientated and task orientated, and then we'll jump into what is Plumm and where we're going with that.
I think if you get the people aspect right,
Yeah.
I think the tasks take care of themselves. As in, the people will take care of the tasks. So my focus from the get-go really has been nurturing relationships. So I mean, I've been an entrepreneur since I was 17. So, and at that time, even today, I know I'm not the smartest person in the room. I dropped out from school. I know I didn't have the support system. I know I didn't have the money. I believe the only thing I felt I always had was the ability to connect with people. So I'm always a big advocate of, yes, of course, we all have strengths and weaknesses, and yes, of course, you need to work on your weaknesses. But for me, doubling down on your strengths and instead of focusing too much on fixing your weaknesses, I think that's a life hack. So instead of looking at all the other aspects that I could improve on, I just double down on my strength on connecting with people. So if you look at Plumm now, I mean, my objective from get-go has been, okay, how do I get my co-founder, the first co-founder, how do I nurture my relationship with the first co-founder? How can I get my second co-founder, nurture a relationship with that person, and then my founding team members, and then the rest of the team? I feel if you're able to do that, you do. I mean, I feel if you're able to do that correctly, strategically, also if you look at forming a business, whatever, strategically also, I think that's the best strategy that you can apply if you're able to nurture relationships with your people. Once you've done that, everything just falls into place, because the last thing you want to do is get smart people around you and then tell them what to do. but then only getting smart people around you is not enough. Especially, okay, I take a step back. Getting smart people around you is also a challenge. How do you get smart people around you? Especially if you're in a startup where you lack resources a lot. You don't have a brand name, you're not a big brand, which means there's lack of trust. You have less resources, you're perhaps not in a situation to pay the top dollar to people around you. There's so many things. For example, my founder, my co-founders worked for me or with me for such a long time without any salary. So that's obviously a challenge as well. So how do you do that? You can only do that by creating that bond and that relationship with that individual. To be able to form that trust, I think that changes everything. So I don't think for me there's a balance between how do I balance that relationship building and the operational side of things. My focus is just the relationship. Operations just fall into place because, I mean, especially I don't think there's a blueprint of starting a business. Perhaps there is something they teach you in business school, which I didn't go to. But really, it's all about taking every day as it comes. Failing a lot, learning from those failures, iterating, and then failing again, learning from those failures, iterating, and so on. So really, you can only do that if you have the right set of people with you. And then hopefully they're smart, hardworking people, and they take care of the processes. And you just have to just somehow keep on winging it in life until the process really fits in the way you and your team operates. So yeah, for me, it's just focus only on that one aspect, which is building relationship with my people. That's it.
So you dropped out of school. You didn't go to business school. You started your first business when you were 17. Tell me a little bit about that. And how did Plumm birth out of that place?
Wow. Well, it was a long time since my first business. So dropped out of school because I was just, I don't know. I was just really bad in school, just really bad. Like, I know you laugh now, but bad to an extent. Like, I really felt there was something wrong with me. And not just me. My teachers felt there was something wrong with me. My mom felt there was something wrong with me. So my father never went to school, and my mom and my dad never had a good relationship. And every time she used to get mad at my dad, she used to look at me and think that, oh my God, I'm the product of my father because he basically didn't know school, education, whatever. And I did not also give importance to education as much I should have. Obviously, I mean, I know why she felt the way she felt, and she just wanted the best for me. And I think that just really broke her heart as well, because her husband was breaking her heart, and then now her son is also breaking her heart because her son also does not give a shit about school. So, and I really genuinely was trying, but I just couldn't pass. I mean, math. I just hated numbers. I just hated algebra. Like I just couldn't do it, no matter how hard I tried. And it didn't help, like I mentioned earlier as well, that my sisters were really good, and it did not help. There was a lot of pressure, and I wasn't just bad that I was, average or just below average. I used to be the last. Or almost the last. So the competition was who's going to be the shittiest student in the class, and that was me. So that was really difficult. And I mean, at that time, I mean, now obviously I understand a little bit more in terms of, I mean, I'm in the mental health space and so on, but I'm just thinking, wow, the trauma I must be going through, like that was horrible. But anyway, so I was just so bad in school. I dropped out of school, and now if I've dropped out of school, who's going to employ me? So that was another challenge, which I knew. Like, I mean, 15, 16, I was just thinking, oh my God, like I'm not graduating. Like that's not happening. And which company is now going to employ me? Because any company that I'm going to go to, they're going to ask me for my educational background, my degrees, certifications, and so on. I'm screwed for life. Like, what am I going to do? So I started escaping my whole reality, my whole environment, and I started playing games, online games. Back then, we used to play them on LAN networks. So basically, what I was doing was I was bunking class, like I was not going to class, and then finally I dropped out, and then my entire day was just spent in front of a computer screen just playing games, and I was literally sitting there for hours. Like, I mean, 10, 12 hours easy every single day, 7 days a week. That's all I knew. That's all I did. But I also got damn good at it. So then I started getting into competitions. And then I started winning those competitions. And I started earning money. And that was the first taste of me thinking, oh, wow, I don't necessarily have to have a degree to earn money. I could perhaps earn money from an alternate route, which I also enjoy. I absolutely loved playing. And because I absolutely loved doing it, I was so good at it. So I'm like, oh shit, wait, there's a correlation here as well. If I actually love doing what I do, somehow then it's not work, and it also can help me earn money. Anyway, but I also had this entrepreneurial bug. I knew I had to do more. Okay, winning these competitions at that point was great, but I was also 16, 17. I wasn't earning money to sustain my livelihood. I was still living under my father's roof, and they were feeding me and they were buying me clothes and so on. So I knew I had to do more. And I knew I didn't want to do anything which would include, not that, I didn't want to become a driver, or I didn't want to flip burgers. I really wanted to do something more. And my dad is a forever failed entrepreneur. He has had more businesses than I even remember now. And he's failed in each and every one of them. And I think that was also a big challenge for my mum, because cash was always tight at home. And then on top of that, when my father kept investing, starting new businesses, meaning losing more money, and so I could never fathom, or she could never fathom, that I would not go to school and then get into entrepreneurship, because obviously that is wrong, because you fail. But I think he was also one of the catalysts, because one thing which always resonated with me was he always said something down the lines of, yeah, but you should always try. Just always try, no matter what happens. Even if you fail, succeed, doesn't matter, just try. And that meant for everything. For example, if I didn't like a certain food, yeah, but just try. If I didn't like a certain vegetable, try. If I didn't like a certain sport, just try. He always encouraged me to try. And then he always encouraged me, and even today, he's still working. He's such a hard worker as well. And he had a horrible job, and he just worked, I don't know, 9 to 9, God knows, 7 days a week. It was just insane, the amount of work that he put in for the mediocre salary that he was earning. Again, no education, so he had to do odd jobs and so on. But the two things was always try, but always work hard. I could just see the amount of work that he was putting in. Oh my God! But also, it's interesting, because I could have thought that, hey, trying and hard work doesn't really yield you anything, because he was not making any money and he was not succeeding in anything that he did. But I just somehow felt that was so powerful. This man, no one can kill this man. No matter how many times he fails, he just bounces back up and he just keeps going and going. I just found, I admired that spirit in him. I admired it. I thought that was wow. So anyway, I think that was really the building block, or the foundation, of me to think to myself that I could also perhaps maybe start something by myself. And again, not thinking of any barriers, I had a chat with my uncle at that time. I was about 17 and a half, I'm not too sure. And he's a businessman. He's a successful entrepreneur, complete opposite to my dad. And so I took him one day to this place where I used to play network games, and I showed him the whole space, and I showed him how packed this space was, and then I made my first business plan, and I did an entire cost analysis, whatever I felt right, and I gave him some sort of an understanding of how many people come in, and how much potential the rent is, your overheads, and how much potential revenue you can earn, and then showing him how good I am in playing games, so I understand the nature of this business and how I can pull and attract people, because I was somehow at that time because I was so good and I built that network. So I don't know, maybe like like a mini influencer within that space. So he was my first investor, and I convinced him at that point to invest in me and for us to go 50-50 and start a business. So basically the deal was, hey, you invest, I would work, and we go splitsies. And also I did a contract with him that I will not take any money from the business up until I pay you back, and then we start doing that profit sharing. So I constructed this whole, deal around him, and he said yes, to my surprise. And the rest is history, as they say. That really was that's when I really, the first validation for me that, oh shit, like this can actually work. And I really enjoyed that. It was also, I mean, it was quite, how can I say, validating for me, or somehow a morale boost or a confidence boost for me. For the first time ever in life, I was actually successful at something. Because and growing up, because I was a skinny kid, I was actually the skinniest kid, or one of the skinniest kid in school, but I was also the shortest kid. Like it was just, oh my God, like shit after shit. Like I'm shit in school, I'm skinny, and I'm so short. Like what the fuck, That was just so bad. And then my mom hates me, and my teachers hate me. Like what the hell? Although one thing that was going for me somehow, that's interesting actually when I think about it. I was never bullied, and I was also very popular. I was very popular. So all these things not going my way, but I was also very popular with the wrong set of kids in school. So we were the kids who used to smoke, who used to not go to class and whatever. But yeah, we were the cool kids. But somehow they just accepted me. So I think the trait of building that connection really was from the get-go. Also maybe because I didn't have a choice. Because nothing was going on for me. I'm like, man, like I just have to work. I just have to have something that I can rely on and double down on. Yeah, so really that was the catalyst. So that was, the start of everything that has now transpired into Plum.
Wow. I would firstly love to see a picture of you when you were in high school.
Oh my God, you don't.
I would love that. I'm going to find a picture of you when
Okay.
you were in high school,
Damn
firstly.
it.
And secondly, do you still game?
I actually stopped gaming a couple of years ago.
Okay.
To be honest with you, actually what happened was, okay, so the first business, okay, so I had that and I was very, very successful. And we did that for about 2.5, almost 3 years. And then I was forced to shut everything down. And that's when, and the reason again was my mom. But again, like, I mean, now in hindsight, at that time I was really pissed off at her. But in hindsight, I think of it, yeah, I think what happened to me was, because I was young and I was, no excuse, but because nothing had ever gone right in my life. And for the first time ever, I felt I could touch and taste success, and everything I did was becoming fruitful. I think I became a little bit too distant from my day-to-day reality. I was earning a lot of money. From one space, I then expanded into a second space. The operations just became bigger and bigger, and yeah, I just stopped going home. I would just randomly just walk into my house like once a week, maybe twice a week. Treated my my house like a hotel, just in and out, and yeah, I mean. And completely, that's when I just dropped out completely from school. Yeah, I just didn't give a shit because I was just thinking I'm earning more than my teachers. Like, why am I there? It just didn't make sense. I'm earning more than my father. I'm earning more than so many people that I know, so many grown-ups that I know. So why? I mean, this is it, My mom was not having it, and we had just too many issues. And finally, we came to a point where my mom and my uncle then did a coup and they said, okay, this is not the right direction this man needs to go into. For whatever reason, I think things have changed. I would probably do it differently, with the new generation now. But I mean, that was just those times, and yeah, and then they basically we then had to sell the business. That was also maybe the first opportunity for me to see like an acquisition type of so I started a business and we also sold the business. So I mean, in hindsight, it was a great learning curve. But I was very disheartened, obviously, because that's the only thing I knew. For the first time in my life, I was successful at something, and that was just taken away from me. And it was so bad because then I had to then get a job. And now, again, the conundrum where I don't have background education. I remember I was working for this marketing agency, and they used to do below the line marketing, and we used to do like road shows and so on. And the first thing that I could ever do for them was we had these promoters who I think at that time were selling one of these fizzy drinks, some soft drink, and I was just picking and dropping these promoters back and forth the venue. So that was my first job, and then from that I transitioned, or I got promoted into actually doing the promotions myself. From that, then I upgraded or got promoted to actually doing some office job where I could, send emails on behalf of people, administrative jobs. Um, but I was really disheartened because I hated what I was doing, absolutely hated, because I absolutely loved what I was doing just a while ago, and I was so successful, and I had this group of people around me. I was, building my tribe, and everything was just going for me. And then this happened, and I just did not want to play games anymore. I just wanted to completely distance myself from that world altogether. And I remember a couple of years ago, I tried playing games just here and there. It just gave me a headache. Just looking at the staring at the screen for such a long time just gave me a headache, and I'm like, more, and I was really crap also. So that also kind of upset me. Maybe it kind of pissed me off because I just remembered, oh my god, I used to be so good, and now I'm so shit. I never want to play games anymore. And again, I mean, now things have seemed to obviously changed for me. I just don't have the time. Like, I'm just so happy in what I do that I don't need that kind of exit. So no. So there's a long-winded answer to your question, but the answer is no.
Okay. Now, you've spoken a lot about your dad. Tell me a little bit about your mum and how's your relationship with your mum? How, like, especially her, like, also making that decision with your uncle and then coming out of that. And that's a lot of resilience right over there. And we love to talk about resilience, me and you, in our working relationship. But tell me a little bit about your mum. I know she's also a big part of why you started Plumm and your passion for mental health. What was the one thing? So you shared a couple of thoughts around what your dad taught you. What's those things that your mum taught you, and where you are today?
I mean, I always had a love-hate relationship with my mom. I mean, just growing up, so my mom was the bad cop and my dad was the good cop. So my dad just gave me anything I wanted because I was so much like him. Because my mom made it very clear that he knew that I'm so much like him, not for the right reasons, but so he somehow felt more connected to me, and I just got anything and everything that I wanted. My mom, on the other hand, oh my God, like she was tough. She was tough. She was a proper Indian mother. She was really tough. So I didn't really like my mom growing up. Like I maybe just hated her. She's like, oh my God, like she's horrible. She just made me cry every single time. So, but obviously now again things have changed. He's older now. Um, my mom really went through a lot, and it's because of my mom and dad. Like they had a horrible, horrible, horrible relationship, and growing up, it was very sad or very difficult to see her go through that pain. I was going to say I can only imagine what she went through, but I can't imagine what she went through. It was, yeah, she went through a really tough time, and it was up until she came to a breaking point, and I don't know how and what, but she was just depressed through and through. And like she wasn't herself most of the time, And anytime she came out of that headspace, it was just negativity, which was then passed on to me and to my other two siblings. So it was a horrible space to be in. Obviously, it was horrible for me and my siblings, but definitely much more horrible for her. She, because of that, she then started having a lot of physical. That just manifested into a lot of physical conditions that she then started having, and it was just bad. She's got arthritis now as well, and yeah, she was at a really low point. At one point, she was told that she had to get operated, but there was no guarantee. She might be wheelchair bound for the rest of her life, and it was just horrible. And and at that time, one of my sister's university professors, who had also become like a family friend of ours, recommended her to get into therapy. Get into therapy. And even today, there's a lot of stigma around mental health. This is about 16, 17 years ago, and the stigma was even more so. And I think in a culture like the Indian culture, there's a lot more stigma, I believe, compared to the Western world. And all these things are very taboo. Like, even if you have domestic issues, you don't talk about domestic issues outside of your four walls. So getting into therapy was unheard of. Like what is therapy? Like what are you talking about? But somehow she was really desperate. She just needed anything, some type of something to save her. So she started getting into therapy, and yeah, she just kept on doing that for a very long time, and she worked on herself, and yeah, she came out of it. She came out of that headspace. She separated from my father, and she didn't stop there. She became a therapist herself. So that for me was extremely empowering, because I obviously this took a few years, but I could see the transition from the woman she was to the woman she was becoming to the woman she had become. And after that, the people she was impacting, and then she used to come back and tell us stories of how how she's impacted this person or that person. And at that time, she used to practice from home. So she had made this her space, her therapy space at home. So we also kind of, like, as kids, we also kind of became friends with her clients somehow. Like, some of them actually have become family friends now, which I think is pretty cool. So it was really empowering for us to see, oh wow, like, people, like the same person keeps coming week after week, month after month to see my mom. Definitely she must be adding value. Definitely she must be, there's a reason why this person is investing their time and money in my mother. So that was really empowering for me. So I was just like, oh wow, like, she must be doing something right. And from the headspace she was in, to the transformation that she brought in her life, to the transformation she was bringing in other people's life, that was magic for me. Having said all that, I was still ashamed that my mom was a therapist. Only I knew in my entire circle that my mom was a therapist. My friends, my peers never knew that my mom was a therapist. I would never say that to any of the people around me. I was absolutely ashamed. Up until 2016 is when I had my own fair share of mental ill health. So, I've had many businesses. I was in the property sector for a very long time, about 12 years. And I had invested a lot of money. I had leveraged, invested a lot of money. I lost a lot of money, and I went into a really, really, really dark place. And I've had suicidal thoughts. I remember very clearly 3 days in a row standing at the edge of a balcony and picturing my fall. And the problem is, I'm also scared of heights. So I'm standing at this balcony. I'm thinking, oh shit, now I'm scared, like, because this is so high. And then I was just picturing my fall. I was just thinking, okay, so how's my death gonna be? Like, I mean, how fast am I gonna fall? What if I hit something else, any other balcony, and during my fall, and when I hit the ground, how am I going to hit the ground? Am I going to hit the ground head first? Am I gonna break? Am I gonna die instantly? Am I gonna die mid-fall? Like it was like I was really picturing the entire fall, and that scared me even more. And I remember the first night I just couldn't do it. I was just too scared to take that jump. I was just too scared. And then I remember the second night, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get the courage now, and okay, now this is gonna be the night. And then the next day, I was picturing the fall even that much more clearly, because now, yeah, it was horrible, and I got even more scared. So I'm like, okay, no, I just can't do it. The third night, I really felt like I mean, I remember I was in tears, really emotional, and I was thinking, I mean, either I do it now, or I change my life. Like something needs to change. Like I can't be living like this, because I might just die of a stroke if I don't take this plunge. It was just I didn't know what to do. I just didn't know what to do, and I thought this would be the easier way out, but it was just so difficult for me to do it. I was just so shit scared. Like I just couldn't make myself do it. And perhaps maybe if I was not scared of heights, maybe I would do it. I don't know. I was just too scared to take that plunge. So then I told myself, okay, if you're too scared to do this, something else needs to change. I can't be in this position anymore. I have to come out of this headspace. Um, yeah, I mean, and then I started taking care of and really, I think I was fortunate that I had my mom's experience, and I was just trying to compare myself to my mother and the hardships that she's gone through. She's never spoken to me about having any suicidal thoughts. I knew she hated her life. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't have these thoughts. But I mean, I was just thinking, this woman who came from India at the age of 21, didn't know anyone in the country that she moved, Dubai at the time, and she went through, and then she had 3 kids, and then she went through whatever she did with her husband. If she was able to come out of it, I mean, I should be able to come out of it too, you know. I didn't obviously speak to anyone about this at that time. My family didn't know, my friends, peers didn't know, but I just focused on getting out of that headspace first, and then coming out of that financial situation that I was in. Yeah, I got into therapy. I also started working on myself a lot. Yeah, I did a lot of deep work, and once I came out of that headspace, that just also allowed me to take control back of my life, um, in terms of my finances, got that straightened out. And when I got the when everything was done and dusted, I started just speaking to people, not really sharing exactly what I've been through, but people knew that I was in a financial situation. People around me, so my friends and my peers knew the financial situation I was around in, and they also then knew that I kind of came out of it. So I started speaking to people about how tough that situation was, from a commercial standpoint, and how stressful it was. And so it just stopped at stress, nothing more than that. But then when I started speaking to people, I started realizing that, wow, like the stories I was sharing with people, that's everyone's norm. Like a lot of people that I was speaking to, most of them were men, they were all going through something or the other. And I'm thinking, maybe they were also feeling suicidal, or, some extreme emotion, but maybe they're also hiding it the way I'm hiding it to them. I didn't expose myself to them. And I'm talking about a few of my best friends. I didn't expose myself to them. So I'm thinking, wow, maybe they're also not exposing their entirety to me. And, I think, living with stress or anxiety, I think we just take it as a part of life. But the reality is, it must not be the case. And I really, at that time, also because I was speaking to a lot of men, And yes, there's a lot of stigma around mental health, but I believe the stigma is more so when it comes to men. We've been told as we grow up, especially the generation that I come in from, oh, you're a man, man up, just toughen up, boys don't cry. So I'm thinking, wow, like, I mean, that because there are tools and there is a solution out there. It's just sad that people don't have that, don't have the convenience or the awareness or the knowledge or that support system. I just wanted to do something different. I really wanted to get into space that would be bigger than me, bigger than my mom even. So yeah, so I started exploring the whole telehealth, telemedicine space. Saw a lot of platforms and apps that would connect you with GPs and doctors and specialists, but the whole mental health space was not as robust as we see it today. So started developing the platform, and mid of 2018 is when we finally launched, and the rest is history.
In my mind, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, we should have many podcasts coming out of this conversation. Men, mental health, money, and mental health. And I think, and even just, you got me very emotional talking about your mum. I think that's something that we share in common, and we can have a separate conversation about that. But my mum, unfortunately, on the other side, she passed away because of mental illness, because she never got that help. And that's why I became a therapist myself. And I think the crux of the matter is, even you standing on the balcony, having those thoughts, keeping it in the dark, not exposing it, not sharing to someone, there was that internal shift. And I think a lot of people don't have that internal shift. And many people don't know how to get help. Many people don't know how to do that deep work. And so maybe you can just highlight a couple of factors of what that deep work consisted of for you. What is, even today, you're super busy, you have a really good relationship with stress. The way you word stress, the way you partner with stress, good stress, to motivate you to get things done. What are your coping mechanisms back then and even now to make sure that you're looking after yourself emotionally and mentally?
I think gratitude is super important. So obviously, I was in therapy, then I did a lot of breath work, meditation, that just became a part of my day-to-day life. I read a lot. I watched a lot of videos, YouTube. I followed a lot of people within the space. It was great. So I was trying to fast track or speed up the amount of information that I could gather so that I would be able to come out of that space as soon as possible. But I feel, really, because I was in that space where I came so close to death, I think that reminded me of how fragile our life is. And I think that I'm so fortunate now when I think of it, that going through that journey has now so I live with the constant reminder that I could not wake up tomorrow. And that is extremely powerful. I think the only thing guaranteed to you in your life is death, perhaps even taxes, but death. So, and I know it's very morbid to think like this, and I vocalize that so many times, even within the space, within our team. It just motivates me to be so much more grateful for the most important thing in life, which is life itself. And every morning I wake up, I think, wow, this is a miracle. How the hell did I wake up? So many people on this planet did not wake up. And then when you look around, oh, your family, your partner, everyone woke up. Shit, how? That in itself is so powerful if you think about it. So I think that for me has changed everything. Just being mindful that we are mortal beings and we should not be taking our life for granted. Because I came to that very edge of losing my life. I think I just don't take it for granted. And I'm so grateful just to be alive. Everything after that is just a bonus. And then what can I do with my life every single day that has a meaningful impact on myself and people around me? What can I do better today than I did yesterday? That is it. And so, I don't know. I mean, to answer your question, what was that exact thing that I did, or how did I come out of that headspace? I think a lot of things, a combination of a lot of things, but really reminding myself that how beautiful this life is. Like, I mean, if you really think about it, how are we even on this planet? You know, there were millions of sperms, and finally there was this one sperm who connected to that egg, and it's a bloody lottery. Like, how the hell are you here to start off with? And then how can you not be grateful? So if we start from the place of gratitude, everything changes. Just everything changes. So yeah, there's a lot of support system. There's a lot of things that you can do, but I think mindset is super important. I don't believe there's any therapist on this planet who can save you. Only you can save you. Therapists and every other tool, support system out there is extremely important to help you realize that mindset or that shift for yourself. But you have to do the work. So if I could just answer that with maybe if it's just this one aspect, that has to be gratitude. If you're grateful, if you start from a place of gratitude, I believe everything just falls into place.
Now, if I start talking to you about Plumm, and I ask you if I say Plumm, if we envision Plumm, our logo, what we stand for, what's the one word that comes to mind when I say Plumm?
Oof, deep questions, Sim. Thrive.
Okay, why?
Plumm really came out of a place where, I was really struggling, and I was in a really bad place. And when I came out of that place, I just didn't want to survive until I died on this planet. I just didn't want to come out and then just go on with my life. I really wanted to thrive on this planet. I had that wake up call that this life is limited. It's beautiful. I'm so grateful to be alive. Now I'm going to bloody maximize it. And I wanted to thrive. And I also wanted whoever would come in my space around me, not just the people who we would serve, customers and clients, but the people who will be part of this journey with me, to thrive. I believe human beings are not put on this planet just to survive, but to thrive. Sometimes we forget. And maybe sometimes you need that shake or that wake-up call. For me, that was that way. Standing on that edge of that balcony was that wake-up call. And I really wanted to start thriving in life, not just living life. Sadly, a lot of people live their life, weekend to weekend, holiday to holiday. I didn't want to be one of those people. I really wanted to thrive. So, yeah, that one word, that is thrive.
And I think of Plumm, I think of hope. And I think hope and thrive goes hand in hand. But I try to always communicate that when I talk about Plumm. When I get on an airplane, the flight attendant tells me, in case of an emergency, put on your oxygen mask first before assisting others. This is how I always sell Plumm to others. Plumm is your oxygen mask. The resources, the services, the product that we're selling, that we're giving individuals, that's oftentimes people's hope that they hold on to. Even if you look at the providers on the platform, how great that we get to really match people's mental health needs to the right professional and accredited care out there to help them, firstly, to give them a hope, and then to help them thrive, whichever spaces or places they find themselves in. And you must most probably get this question quite a bit. So answer this, because I think this is what our listeners would love to hear. Where and why did you decide on the word Plumm?
Do you want the Hollywood answer or the real answer?
That's a hard question. Maybe give me a bit of both.
No, okay. Well, I mean, so Plum was called Healing Clouds when we first started. Don't ask me why, or maybe I can just tell you why anyway, without you asking me the question. So, the whole space of healing people, getting healed, clouds, because I thought, oh, our servers are in the cloud. So let me add like a tech space, like a tech word to it as well. Anyway, but when we first started off, we were a B2C, so we're going direct to consumer, pay as you go model, and then we pivoted into the workplace mental well-being, so B2B, and then we moved into a subscription-based model. And because we did that pivot, we also then, I personally wanted to do a rebrand, and at that time I was looking. I wanted the company name to be one word, so that's easier on the tongue, and somehow hopefully that can become a verb, so people think of therapy in the workplace, bam, they think of Plum. Then I thought, okay, if it's that one word, then perhaps that word should be after a fruit, because when I looked at all these big companies like Apple in electronics and Orange in telecommunication and Mango in the fashion industry, I'm like, oh shit, if I have a fruit name, perhaps one day we would also have that opportunity to become such a huge name. So okay, so fruit. So then I was like, okay, which fruit then perhaps helps you with stress and anxiety? Maybe fruits. So plum has antioxidants and it does help you reduce stress and anxiety. I said, okay, fine, plum. But then sadly, the word plum was not, the domain name was not available. So in the true, mode of startup, I added another M at the end. And I thought it was pretty cool also. Like there are a lot of companies who misspell names. So we kind of did that. And yeah, so hence Plum was born.
Here we go, plum. I feel next time we go to events, we should be handing out plum fruits to remind people of this. But this is so great. Tell me a little bit, 2024, Plum, where are we at? Where are we going? I know that there's a big shift taking place. Maybe you want to talk about that a little bit before we conclude our conversation today.
So we've pivoted a lot. Obviously, you've been with us for quite some time now, so you've seen how fast we move and how fast we take decisions. A lot of the times wrong, but sometimes we kind of get it right. We've had a couple of pivots. So as I mentioned, B2C to B2B, and COVID was really our silver lining, where, as we are all aware, the demand or the conversation around mental health just exploded, and it continues to rise even today. But the last year and a half, 2 years, I mean, the whole global economic conditions obviously has not been favorable, not just in this country or just across the globe, and everyone's feeling it. Obviously, Plum is also not immune to it. About 16, 18 months ago, there were a lot of challenges. Again, the challenge was around budget. Oh yeah, we love your platform, but the budget. We love your platform, but the budget. It always came down to budget, and I was really pissed off. And I was, coming from a place where I'm talking to myself, my team members, sometimes, packaging it nicely, but speaking to people as well outside of Plum, and challenging them where, hey, but you don't think twice before you pay for a CRM system, but now you don't have budget to pay for well-being of individuals who are actually using the CRM system. Like, how does that even make sense, And I was like really advocating that whole, but I quickly understood that no matter what I said, budget was a big constraint. And obviously, I can also appreciate that, running a business myself. A lot of companies are in a situation where there's mass layoffs, and there's budget cuts just through and through. So sadly, when you're in that situation, you have to then take a decision where business critical items stay, but then the non-essential has to just go. And when we speak to prospects and when we speak to people, people are just like, hey, listen, I get it. I know the importance of it, but I'm in a situation where I'm laying off people and I have only enough money to pay salaries. What do I do? Pay salaries or pay for a benefit? So sadly, we, services like Plum, mental health or well-being services, then are looked at not a must-have, but a good to have. And in an environment where you're trying to save on costs and budget constraints and so on, your good to haves just go away. And I'm a business owner, so I can appreciate that. And sometimes you have to lose a few battles to win the war. And I'm like, oh God, like we have to come into a must-have position really quickly, or we die. Because businesses in general, but I think startups more so, if you're not growing, you're dying. There's no in between. And all of us are like fighting for runway, and things just have to keep on moving. There are people and salaries that we also need to pay. So I took that decision of moving into that must-have space. Essentially, it was that one aspect. The second aspect was also articulating return on investment on the expenditure, on the expense of paying for a well-being service. And the only way really we can do this is not like physical health, that you've broken your arm and you've got a cast around it, and now the cast has come out, so you know that the bone has healed. I mean, mental health is very difficult to articulate the return on investment also from that perspective, unless we gather absence data. Now, absence data does not sit with Plumm. Absence data would inevitably sit with an HR platform. So we started off by thinking, okay, let's have a feature where we, people are able to put their absence, data, time management, or holidays, vacation, whatever, through our platform. But then why would people do that only because you have a HR platform? Why would people do double work? So then, again, through entrepreneurship nature, we said, let's get into the whole HR space and build all the different features that anyone else would need. But we also started speaking to a lot of people within the HR space, and then started understanding, okay, if we're going to go in this direction, what are the pain points? Because now it's a new space for us. What problems do you have which we can solve? So 3 things really stood out for us. So the first one was, a lot of people within the HR space use many platforms. One for payroll, applicant tracking, ATS, maybe an LMS platform, your day-to-day HR operations and so on. So 3 to 4 platforms, which means a lot of unnecessary admin work, which again causes a lot of stress and anxiety to a lot of people. They're not able to do the thing that they really want to do, which is, give their time to people, strategize, and so on. The second thing, because you're looking at so many different platforms, the data is fragmented. And when you've got data all over the place, you're also not able to make proper sense of that data. Again, you could collate all that into one centralized, BI tool or something. But again, that means a lot more admin work. And when you have so many platforms, again, the cost, finally, again, it comes back to cost. So we thought, okay, so let's solve these 3 problems then. So now what we've done is we've built like an all-in-one HR platform where ATS to payroll, LMS to time management, you name it, we've got it. We've got AI in every feature that we have, which has enabled us to save that time for that individual. Now they can just see everything in one place. But now the data is also centralized, so individuals can make better sense of that data. They can do a lot of predictive analysis as well. And from a cost perspective, we're not only able to help them, economies of scale. When you're buying all the solution only from Plumm, we're also able to give you a very competitive price. But not just that, we finally also took a decision, because, as I mentioned, I was really pissed off that people are finding it very difficult to find budget for mental health. Fine. Now we're in a position where, okay, you always had this issue that you had to find budget articulated to your CFO and your CEO and so on, justify the cost of mental health. You do not have to justify it anymore, because we are in a place where we give you an all-in-one HR solution with mental health subsidized. So you never have to think about paying for mental health anymore, because I strongly believe mental health should be a basic, fundamental human right. And for that, I believe we as a company have actually found a solution where if everybody switched to a platform like Plumm, and I'm not just saying it's only limited to Plumm, I would encourage all the other HR platforms to follow suit, because I've run the numbers, I've done the math, and the math adds up. You can provide mental health services within your offering, and we've done that. So I think collectively, if we're all able to do that, we would perhaps be able to solve or at least improve the mental health crisis that is at hand. So, mental health has always been at the core of everything that we do. I just feel that we've finally come to a place where we've actually found a solution to the whole problem where you don't even have to think about mental health when you're looking at budgets and costs, whatever, because it's just included. And it should be, because mental health, if you look at any HR strategy, no HR strategy can be complete without, mental health being at the forefront, mental health of their employees being at the forefront of that strategy. So I'm really proud of what we've achieved. Proud of my team, and it's just the beginning now. We've just recently launched, and I'm just excited to see how that pans out to the whole world.
I'm going to pause over here quick. I'm thinking logistically what I want to ask you next, just as you're flowing in this conversation. Introduce yourself to me quick. Who's Asim? Hi, I'm Asim, CEO and founder. Give me a quick introduction of who you are.
Okay. Hi, I'm Asim, CEO of... Now I'm gone off track. Okay. Hi, I'm Asim, founder and CEO of Plumm.
Amazing. What's the one thing in this world that keeps you up at night?
Plumm.
Why Plumm? One sentence.
Because of the people who work at Plumm so relentlessly to make a change, not only in their lives, but in the lives of so many tens of thousands of people across the globe.
Amazing. If you can give one call to action to people listening to you today, what would it be?
Ooh. So many call to actions I can think of. Work hard. If you're working hard already, work harder. Because the game of life is rigged in your favor. You can achieve anything you put your mind to. So just keep going. Work damn hard. You can get anything you put your mind to.
Mic drop. There you
Boom.
go. Boom. Last thing that I want to touch on, which I think is something that you really helped me understand in my journey. You tend to say this quite a bit, but I want to understand your revelation behind it, the deep understanding behind why you like to say this. People buy people, people don't buy our product. What does that mean?
Yeah. What I think it means is, human beings are social creatures. Human beings connect with other human beings. So people buy people, as in people buy trust. And it's very difficult to actually trust a non-living thing, which is a brand or a company. What you can trust is another human being. But that trust needs to be built, and you need to work hard on building that trust. So when I say people buy people buy into the trust of that other individual. So it's the trust.
Amazing. Is there anything else that you would like to add? Anything else you would like to share about Plumm or your journey or who you are before we conclude?
I think just on a very high level, I think just going back to life, not just Plumm in general. I think Plumm is my journey, but I think we all can have plums in our journeys, no matter what that is. And it does not necessarily mean that you need to start a business. I just think we all have the ability to thrive on this planet. Just reminding ourselves that our time is very limited. Being grateful for what we have and for who we are, and working so damn hard to maximize the limited time that you have on this planet. Yeah, because we all have the capability and that opportunity. Um, but taking that step forward, I think that just changes everything. Yeah.
I think I just want to publicly on record thank you and everyone at Plumm for changing my life. Like Plumm has had a massive impact on my life. I was actually saying to my friend last night, like, yes, I've had jobs before Plumm, but Plumm has been my first job. I kind of just want to forget about everything else I've done in this life, and I always just want to remember like where I've started on my journey in Plumm, and thanks to the team at Plumm and ultimately you and your leadership, how you've directed me and how you've almost shaped me and who I am today and who I'm becoming, and how you give other people a voice. You're always open to what other people have to say. I will never forget moments that I have with you, oftentimes in the office or when we're walking or whatever. You ask me a question, I think, bloody hell, Asim, you know the answer. Why are you asking me this? But it's actually because you want to hear what I have to say. You might not always agree with me, and you might think that what I'm saying is a whole lot of nonsense, but you make time to actually listen to the people around you. And I think that's a powerful leadership skill. So I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of this journey. Thank you for having me on your show ultimately today. And I think this is just the beginning. Watch out, world. Plumm is coming for you. We're going to paint the world. Put Plumm. I'm actually envisioning this, marketing strategies, right? Where we see Big Ben and they AI, where they throw a plum on Big Ben and there's a plum on London Bridge and all the things, which is really just so really cool to be able to know that we are impacting not just organizations, but with people in those spaces. So thanks for that.
And thank you for trusting me and being a part of this journey. Like I said, the power of people and the power of right people. The only reason I'm in this space and we've had the success that we've had so far is because we have people like you around to be able to take us to that next level. So thank you so much for trusting me. Thank you so much for interviewing me. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Sim. You're a superstar. Keep shining.
Thank you, Sim.